A video of Catherine Cookson's The 15 Streets is on sale now. The complete trilogy will be available on video in the autumn.
Next Sunday on YTV, there's the first episode in a new drama series, The Real Charlotte.
Marrying a soldier is the easy part.
Oh, don't tell me. What? You're not, are you? Oh, great.
Hey, excuse me, have you seen a soldier?
Seeing a soldier got me into this state.
Army lives, wives and families. Soldier, Soldier, starting Monday at 9 on ITV.
I can't wait to get my teeth into the big juicy grapefruit at the end of this breath.
Once upon a time, there was a beautiful princess. Once upon a time, there was a princess. Once upon a time, there was a girl called Mary. Mary traveled everywhere in a beautiful golden coach. Mary traveled everywhere in a chauffeur-driven limousine. Mary drove a Volkswagen Polo. And of course, she was worshipped and adored by a handsome prince. She was worshipped and adored by a cost accountant called Ernie, who she loved as much as he loved her.
You want to take the first one?
And this being a true story, Mary and Ernie lived happily ever after.
Only it was left.
You said right.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
Okay, so they fell out now and again. What are you looking for here? Affection? I mean, come on, give me a break.
Crown have made a remarkable paint, a creamy, hard-wearing gloss that needs no undercoat. Crown Solo, the gloss paint that rewrites the rules.
Ladies and gentlemen, our Morris has invented a time machine. It's the TETLEY Wall Clock, free with special packs of TETLEY tea.
To everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season.
My first job, I took home from that £3, 3 shillings and fourpence. I gave £1 to my mother, and she banked £2 for me, and I used to live on 3 and fourpence a week. I've achieved a lot of what I wanted. Compared to a lot of people, I enjoy a reasonable standard of living. If you set out that one's main ambition in life is to be happy, then I am. I suppose essentially I'm a lazy person, but the only way I know of earning a buck is to work hard.
Meridian, a bank account that makes more of the money you've made.
9 out of 10 people still aren't eating enough fibre. So it's worth knowing that in 5 portions of cabbage, there's the same amount of fibre as you'd find in just a single bowl of Kellogg's All-Bran. Kellogg's All-Bran, a great fibre provider.
One explanation for our love of water is a desire to return to the womb. Floating in warm water is claimed to free the mind. Ancient civilizations believed in its healing properties. It's still used in therapy today. Water heated by gas may not sound as romantic as the sea, but it's a good alternative if you want oceans of affordable hot water on tap, whereas other water babies have to wait for the tide to come in. Gas, the heat of the moment.
Fresh pineapple, tasty pineapple, juicy pineapple. Hey, anybody see my pineapple? Hey.
Saturday, June the 22nd on ITV, live and exclusive. Simply the Best takes on The Force. Brighton's Chris Eubank defends his WBO middleweight championship title against London's Michael Watson. A classic clash between 2 bitter rivals. If you can't be there on the night at Earl's Court, there's a ringside seat for you live and exclusive on ITV. World Championship Boxing, Eubank v Watson, Saturday, June the 22nd at 9:20.
At 10:55 tonight, we have an extra programme for you when we bring you highlights of today's exciting golf in the Murphy's Cup from Fulford. But now we join ITN.
The news from ITN.
Major talks about Europe, Kinnock talks about an election. Liverpool choose far-left candidate to challenge Labour. Husband of woman murdered at pool appeals for witnesses. And off his own bat, Gooch gives England a chance. Good evening. Mr. Major and Germany's Chancellor Helmut Kohl held 5 hours of talks at Chequers today, discussing moves towards political and economic union in Europe. Labour said differences within the Conservative Party over Europe showed they were not fit to run the country. The Labour leader, Neil Kinnock, challenged Mr. Major to call a general election now.
The warmth of the personal relationship between the two leaders has only served to increase the alarm felt by some MPs that Mr. Major is preparing to hand more power to European bureaucrats.
In that direction? Yeah, that's all. Yeah, very good. I think we better look in the same direction. Yeah.
There can't have been much dialogue in their stroll through the Rose Garden at Chequers, since neither speaks the other's language well. But they do agree that a single currency would only work with greater economic convergence. In other words, inflation, interest rates and growth would be broadly the same in all member countries. That could be years away.
There simply isn't the economic convergence at the moment, which makes a single currency possible. And nobody, I think, in the Conservative Party is going to disagree with the proposition that we can't have a single currency imposed on Parliament.
But the EC president, backed by France, will spearhead moves towards an independent European central bank and a single currency when they meet in Luxembourg later this month. Though their arguments are less bitter and less public than in Mrs. Thatcher's day, any decision could make waves in the Tory party.
I'm against a common foreign policy, a common defence policy, a common currency and a common bank. And I also want Eastern Europe invited in. And I believe at some stage there has to be a referendum in this country as to how far people are prepared to go, irrespective of the colour of government.
The Labour Party contains an equally wide diversity of views on Europe, but gleefully points the finger at Mr. Major.
There's been a fudge because his interests have not been what is best for Britain, but how he can hold the Tory party together. What we want is a united government with a Prime Minister who can take decisions on behalf of the nation, not on behalf of the Tory party.
Herr Kohl could prove a valuable ally in Europe, but the Prime Minister must convince voters here that Majorism, a commitment to public services, marks him out from Mrs. Thatcher. But Mr. Major faces a difficult week as he tries to put that message across, with continued Labour pressure about the state of the economy and criticism from some Tory backbenchers unhappy with Mr. Major's style and some of his policies. Mark Webster, ITN, Chequers.
Liverpool's breakaway Labour group, the Broad Left, tonight selected a candidate to challenge the official Labour candidate in the by-election caused by the death of Eric Heffer. She's Leslie Mahmood, a Liverpool councillor who says she's a Marxist.
The Liverpool Hard Left had already decided on a showdown with the Labour Party. All they needed now was a candidate. Militant supporter Leslie Mahmood had come to the selection meeting as firm favourite. So, as the three candidates walked through to hear the result, none was surprised at the news that the woman who'd originally tried to become the official Labour candidate had won by an overwhelming majority.
That the rank and file members of Walton Broad Left tonight democratically selected and unanimously endorsed Leslie Mahmood, Deputy Leader of Liverpool Labour Councillors, as their candidate to fight the Walton by-election.
I pledge to continue the socialist traditions of Walton and of the Liverpool Real Labour. I believe that Real Labour will win. We'll be out on the streets tomorrow night, beginning our campaign.
The Walton constituency was the birthplace of the militant tendency and has a history of supporting hard-left candidates. On the streets today, opinion was divided.
It's hard enough going to Conservatives as it is, and also another candidate to take a few more votes off at Labour.
What do you think about the Broad Left putting up a candidate against Labour?
I support them standing.
Well, I will be supporting Labour. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Me too. Yeah, Labour.
Taking on Labour is a high-risk strategy for the Hard Left. If they don't do at least as well as they did in last month's local elections here, it'll be hard for them to argue that they, and not Neil Kinnock, are the true voice of the left. James Mates, ITN, Liverpool.
Two new surveys show pay deals edging down to their lowest level for 10 years. One study by the Confederation of British Industry found that the number of firms imposing a pay freeze has doubled within the space of a few months.
As the recession continues to bite, firms, especially in the engineering sector, have been forced to reduce costs with improved productivity and lower pay deals. More companies are also imposing wage freezes. Two surveys show that since the start of the year, settlements for most workers have averaged between 7.6 and 6.8%. The CBI says their research indicates the largest quarterly fall since the autumn of 1980, and experts believe the trend will continue.
We've seen settlements edging down as inflation has come down over the last few months, and I think if inflation does come further under control, then settlements may well be of the order of 6 and 7%.
We've always argued that wages follow the inflation. It's not the other way around. People aren't greedy, by and large, and all they want to do is to keep their standard of living at least as well as they were in the previous year.
There are also signs that most top executive pay awards are falling to their lowest level for over a year. The government will take some comfort from the findings of the two surveys, because lower settlements will help to keep the rate of inflation down. But for many, the principal reason for lower wage claims is the fear of redundancy. And this Thursday, the government will publish more figures showing that unemployment is still on the rise. Stephen Cape, ITN, Central London.
The Foreign Office Minister Douglas Hogg is in Beirut tonight, hoping for news of the British hostages, but he's warned against false expectations. It's the first visit to Lebanon by a British minister for 6 years. Mr. Hogg will meet government ministers and Muslim leaders.
Douglas Hogg acknowledges that his mission to the once undisputed capital of kidnapping and terrorism will not in itself unlock any of the hostage cells.
It's quite plain now that Syria is working to achieve the release of the hostages. The Iranians have said many times that they are going to use their humanitarian best efforts to do so, and that is very welcome. So the situation is steadily improving, but I certainly would not wish to arouse expectations of an early release.
Until now, it has been far too unsafe for a British minister to go into Beirut for all the years that John McCarthy, Terry Waite and Jackie Mann have been held hostage. The minister is expected to see a Shiite militia chief, Hezbollah's spiritual leader, and pass through Beirut's southern suburbs. That represents a more visibly active and direct approach to the hostage issue. There are, as yet, no tangible results for the hostages and their families from either the improved security in Beirut or Britain's re-established links with Damascus and Tehran, the cause of bitter disappointment. Brent Sadler, ITN, Beirut.
Libya has made a further move to improve relations with Britain by distancing itself from the IRA. Its Foreign Minister, Ibrahim Mohamed Bishari, said Libya did not support the organisation or approve of its activities. His comments follow the apology last week for the killing of WPC Yvonne Fletcher outside the Libyan embassy in 1984. Britain has accused Libya of shipping Semtex explosives to the IRA. Unionists in Northern Ireland say the IRA's latest attack, a huge bomb on a housing estate, was aimed at disrupting the Brooke inter-party talks. The car bomb exploded early today at Donaghcloney in County Down. A warning was given and homes were evacuated.
Police say they had only just completed a rushed and panic-stricken evacuation when the car bomb exploded, leaving a deep crater and destroying 7 homes. One policeman was blown off his feet, suffering minor injuries. A woman was taken to hospital with cuts, and many of the 40 evacuated families were in deep shock. But the police say had it not been for their swift response after a 50-minute bomb warning, there could have been a major catastrophe. Security force families live in this area, but the local MP claims the IRA is really engaged in an indiscriminate campaign to try and undermine the Brooke political initiative.
They won't make us change our policies one iota. What we will do, however, is continue to press Peter Brooke and his people to take effective security actions. Those are the people who ought to be under pressure this morning.
Only 2 weeks ago, the IRA bombed a Protestant housing estate in Cookstown. Security chiefs say that if the campaign continues, and like today, the police only have minutes to save people from car bombs in residential areas, sooner or later there will be a large loss of life. Andrew Simmons, ITN, Donaghcloney, County Down.
The husband of a woman found dead in her car in London last week after being repeatedly stabbed made an emotional appeal today for information leading to her killer. Alistair Bell said he feared the attacker could strike again.
The body of businesswoman Penny Bell was found in her Jaguar car outside a West London leisure centre last Thursday. The 43-year-old mother of 2 was last seen alive at her home at Denham in Buckinghamshire, where she told builders she was leaving to keep an appointment. Today, her husband appealed for information about his wife's last hours. He believes her murder was the work of a maniac.
My thoughts now are that if someone can do this, then they will do it again. I know they will. And I know what devastation it's caused to me and my family. And I really want to protect anybody else from coming in contact with this dreadful person who I feel has to be mentally deranged.
The police believe a 4-inch-long knife was used in the frenzied attack on Mrs. Bell and are still searching for the murder weapon.
Investigators in Pakistan say sabotage may have caused yesterday's train crash, which killed up to 100 people. They say negligence is a more likely explanation. The crash happened at Gotki, 200 miles north of Karachi. An express train ploughed into the back of a parked freight train. More than 200 people were injured. The head of the country's railways and the driver of the express have both been suspended. The Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has ordered an urgent inquiry. Here, the maximum charge for dental treatment on the National Health Service is going up by a third to £200 from next month. Charges for various treatments will rise. The price of a basic checkup goes up to £3.75, an increase of 30 pence, and the cost of an extraction goes up to £6.75, a rise of 75 pence. Cricket. Graham Gooch played one of the best innings of his career in the first Cornhill Test against the West Indies at Headingley. He scored an unbeaten 154, staying at the crease throughout the second innings, the first England player to carry his bat through a test since Len Hutton in 1950. At close of play, the West Indies were 11 for 1 in reply to England's 252.
The match was on a knife edge. The captain knew his team's fate lay almost solely in his hands against yesterday's giant destroyer, Curtly Ambrose. Just once in the first over, Ambrose beat Gooch. He got away with it and never looked back. Soon the boundaries were coming. This was the class of the man rated in the top 3 in the world in totally determined mood. Pringle gave him crucial support as England's lead went over 200. They were inching their way towards safety from defeat. Imperiously, Gooch went to his century, his 14th in tests, 6 of them in his last 9 matches, but never one more valuable or scored under such massive pressures against the best bowling side in the world. By the time he got to 150, his partner was the number 11 Malcolm, but Gooch had ensured the lead was over 270. When Malcolm was finally out, the captain had run out of partners, but he'd ensured England had a real chance of winning tomorrow. So how did he assess this century in comparison with the other 13?
You always get a great thrill as a batsman, I think, when you score runs against the West Indies, because you know you scored runs against the best bowling attack there is. Certainly it's given us a chance, a good chance in the game. It's even the odds up a lot now, so whoever plays well tomorrow is going to have obviously a chance of winning, but we hope if we have a good day we can have a good chance.
Those chances rocketed when De Freitas shot out Simmons' very first ball. A few more like that tomorrow, and we could be looking at England's first win against the West Indies in this country since 1969. Giles Smith, ITN Sport, Headingley.
Tennis. Jim Courier won the men's final of the French Open in Paris, beating the favourite Andre Agassi by 3-2. Courier from Florida served an ace to clinch the championship. It was the first All-American final for nearly 40 years. He now moves up from 9th to 4th position in the world rankings. And that's all from the newsroom so far tonight. From all of us on the Weekend News team, good evening.
Housework, it's called women's work, and it's never done by millions of men.
Housework? Not me. I point out the dust and she cleans it.
I just can't be bothered half the time. Just leave it to the wife.
I do a bit, now and again, when I feel like it.
Meet housewife Brenda Morrissey. She's going on strike in a World in Action experiment, leaving husband Martin to do the housework for the first time.
I mean, I might fail on a couple of things, but on the average, I think I do pretty well.
That's when housewives strike. World in Action, Monday at 8:30.
Good evening. Well, most of the countries had a pretty mixed week last week, and the coming week looks as though it's going to be pretty much in the same sort of vein. Tomorrow, another cool and showery day. A lot of rain coming along through Tuesday and into the early part of Wednesday, and then after pretty windy with a lot of showers, Only really Friday things starting to improve with a lot of the showers dying out. Here's what's happening. We've got one low pressure, that's what's in charge for the moment. But behind me here, just developing another area of low pressure. And as that runs up towards us through Tuesday, that'll be bringing more wet and windy weather. That's all well in the future. I'll have a look at tomorrow to begin with. Really very much the mixture like today, bright spells and showers. Some of the showers still quite heavy, particularly in the first half of the day. But as we go on towards the late afternoon and evening, the southwest and eventually Northern Ireland beginning to get a bit drier and a bit brighter, as the showers generally right across the whole country become much, much lighter. Indeed, most places seeing some sunshine before the day's out. Despite that, the wind's still in the west and northwest and fairly brisk right across the country, so generally quite a cool day. Top temperature, probably East Anglia around 19, which is 66 degrees Fahrenheit, but anywhere exposed to that brisk wind, if you see 14 or 15, you'll be doing quite well. 14 is 57 degrees Fahrenheit, fairly chilly for the beginning of June. That's it from me for the moment. There's the sunset times for tomorrow, and here's tomorrow's summary.
Well, now the regional weather forecast. Heavy showers will slowly die away, but there will be one or two lighter ones through the night, especially in western parts. Temperatures will fall to around 9 centigrade, 48 Fahrenheit, with the winds becoming moderate from the southwest. All parts will have sunshine tomorrow, but showers are also likely to develop. However, they'll be much lighter than today, but still rather frequent over the higher ground of the Peak District. Maximum temperatures around 17 centigrade, 63 Fahrenheit, with a fresh westerly wind. Again, the best of tomorrow's weather will be towards the east coast. That's the weather. Now a look at tomorrow's summary. In a few moments, Paul Newman talks to Michael Aspel in New York about his life and career.
Moskin! Notice anything different about me?
Yes, well, the stupid smug grin's the same as usual.
No, Moskin.
A medallion, yes, very tasteful.
Actually, this astute financial investment was a free introductory offer from these people.
Sproggett and Sylvester? Never heard of them.
Oh, smart cookies. They could do a lot for you.
Yes, well, actually, I got mine at a lot for the Alliance and Leicester.
You don't want to get involved with these fly-by-night financial cowboys, Mostin.
This is one of the biggest building societies in the country.
Size isn't everything, is it, Mostin?
No. I mean, they got things like phone banking.
No. Sproggett and Sylvester have got phones coming out of their ears.
Well, I bet they haven't got a cash card that you can use in other people's machines.
Mostin, this card could get me into Fort Knox.
Now then. Right.
Mostin? Excuse me.
You get a dafter investor at Sproggett and Sylvester.
This new Volvo 940 GL has a fold-away child seat.
Yeah.
All I need now is a fold-away child.
And twist again, like we did last summer. And twist again, like we did last year. And twist again, have a little slumber. And twist again, and twisting time is here. And twisting time is here.
Full of ideas, your Whiskers cats. And Whiskers is full of ideas too. Like these new, easy-open small cans. And 4 delicious new Whiskers varieties, which they'll enjoy even more. Cats instinctively know what they like and what's good for them. Cats would buy Whiskers.
Imac Cream Hair Remover. For legs so smooth, you'll want to show them off.
And I get there through this feeling.
Dr. Foster went to Gloucester to cure a case of the colics. He paused to watch a cricket match and caught...
McLean's Active Mouthguard reinforces brushing, killing the bacteria that can cause plaque and bad breath.
The ball right in his medical bag.
McLean's Active Mouthguard cleans the foulest of mouths.
This Monday and Tuesday at Asda, every £10 you spend on things for the garden gets you £5 back in vouchers to spend on anything you like in the store.
If you were with the biggest building society in the world, you could now have a current account called Maxim. It could provide every service you need, from a checkbook to switch. It could even pay you interest, and you could use it anywhere in Britain. But in the end, where could you go for a Maxim current account? Halifax, the building society you can bank on.
Derek has that sinking feeling.
What's the matter with him? I don't know. Something about Desi's boat capsizing into his garden and wrecking his fence and Mavis's anemones. Capsizing into his garden? He should claim salvage. That's a good name. Salvage.
Monday night on ITV.
In the following programme, Paul Newman refers to the use of abusive language by characters he's played on film. Excerpts from Slapshot and The Colour of Money are used to illustrate his point of view. Some viewers may find the language offensive.
Bring a couple up about